You're listening to the Impact Warrior Podcast. This podcast was created out of a vision to have like-minded entrepreneurs who have faced similar battles and understand how difficult entrepreneurship can be. We will feature guests who are here to share with you how rewarding the journey can be if you stay focused and disciplined to achieve the desires of your heart. Every business owner will face a certain level of difficulty at some point, regardless of the industry. And we are here to share with you the story of warriors who have knocked down massive walls to inspire you to keep fighting on this journey. Let's conquer the journey together. And here's your host, Casey Zeman.
Everybody, welcome to the show. I am super pumped because I get to interview James Wedmore. And I've known James for several years. I mean, back in the video marketing time period, like probably
I know how long I've known you. I'm curious if you know how long.
I think over a decade.
Yeah, it's been 10 years.
It's been 10 years. Yeah.
I met you in 2011.
Yeah, exactly. So for those of you who do not know James, but you should know James, he's an online entrepreneur who went from being basically a broke bartender to building an 8-figure empire, helping people scale their businesses as a digital CEO. And James has a very successful podcast, Woo Woo Podcast, as you self-proclaimed Woo Woo. You went Woo Woo style, which I absolutely love.
Mm-hmm.
All around mindset called Mind Your Business. And his signature program, Business by Design, has helped thousands of students. And I've just so loved your journey. And one thing I love that you say is everything you focus on the fun, try, and that's, so I was looking at, and I've always known this about you, surfing, keeping active, the energy you put in your videos, the fun that you show and express in your videos. It just shows that you can build a business around fun. Yes, you still do hard work. That's not, you can't, they can go hand in hand, but I just love that you focus on the fun and excitement. And so thank you for coming on the show.
I'm so happy and excited to be here, buddy. So thanks for having me.
Okay. So I'd like to, typically we talk about like the beginning, where, how you started your company, journey from like the beginning to now. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of your beginning story because you and we would go, to the same conferences, and, I remember you dating Chelsea is your wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when you were dating Chelsea and when you going through that process. So I've gotten to see like all of your like you kind of grow 10 years, you see someone kind of grow up, or at least get into a new, I hear you. Me too. But go through different seasons. So would you mind taking us through some of your journey from the beginning? I mean, as that video marketing person,
right?
And maybe even
Sure. There is several beginnings. And I think that's one of the quote unquote, I always like to joke, like secrets to my success is there's a constant rebirth or innovation or, recreation of who I am, my brand, what I'm doing. You see great musicians do this, over the span decades, is because they reinvent themselves. They reinvent their music. They switch genres or they invent a new one. And I didn't do that intentionally. I'm not out there trying to think like, it's just like, what's next? And I think it started with the idea that I think we're always growing. I think we're always becoming more of who we are, stepping into more of our potential. But then there's the part of us that's always trying to hold on to what we've been because it's safe and it's familiar. And so I just got really good at just saying, F it, let it go. And what's next? And that was really scary. So when I started, and you mentioned the broke bartender, my first thing back in 2007, that's a long time ago, especially internet years, was I created an online bartending course. I taught people how to bartend on the internet. Like
yeah.
that.
So,
And that was,
I remember bottles being thrown on your back, over your back.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you were totally
Oh, yeah.
Tom Cruise cocktail style.
Totally. Exactly. So hopefully someone gets that reference. That's like an old film.
That's it.
But
Yeah.
that was me. I learned how to do that. And what was driving that, the only reason I became a bartender was because I was doing very entrepreneurial stuff. And one of my best friends at the time, I'll never forget this. He said, dude, get a real effing job. That's what he said to me. And I was so impressionable. I was so like, oh, okay, will you still be my friend if I get a job? So I listened to him. And so I said, what job do I want? And the reason I went for bartender was because I liked the idea. That's the entrepreneurial seeds kind of essence coming out was, well, if I work harder or I do more, I could make more money. And I think at the core, I think entrepreneurs get really excited about like possibility, opportunity, limitless. Like, oh man, the more I transform, the more I grow, the more whatever I can increase my potentiality for income, results, etc. And that's where I found that in bartending, and I hated it. I hated everything about it. In fact, I remember like listening on a TV show or a radio show or something. They listed the 10 worst jobs in America, and bartending was on that top 10. It is not as glamorous as Tom Cruise made it to be, but that's where I got my start. Is I said, F this, and I kept seeking, looking, and I found myself putting videos on YouTube and creating an online product, not knowing what the heck I was doing. I wrote a 220-page ebook on how to bartend, how to become a bartender. And that's how it all began.
I love that.
You want me to keep going? I can go.
So that was the first step. And that was your,
I mean,
yeah. I mean, what's been the most, so an interesting, so what I'm thinking is, what was the most impactful sort of reset or start over point for you? You know, like this was the discovery of, oh wait, I don't want to work for somebody else. I'm creating a course. I'm putting it out there. You started selling it, right?
Yeah.
So
April 18th, 2008, I made my first sale, changed my entire life.
Wow.
So that was the first one. I'll never forget that day. I mean, because a simple thought was planted like a seed. It said, if I can do one, if I can get one person to say yes to this and be happy, and this is what they wanted, and they paid me happily, I get a second. I get a second, I get a third. And that's how it started. But I have a few of those. Okay. So can I share? Should I share the highlight of them, and then you tell me where you want to go? Because 15 years of this, dude, we've been around a long time. We're like the old timers now, right? So there's a lot of those moments. So that was the first one, was I'm selling something on the internet on how to bartend. The next one was when I recognized that first niche of the YouTube and video and how I stepped into that. The next one was where I did a big quantum leap in growth, where I let go. Actually, I won't tell you what I let go of, but we 4X'd the company. I went from like 200 and something thousand a year to like 1.2 in 1 year. And then the next one was when I started talking about the stuff I talk about, and I released the podcast. The one after that, which these happened around the same time, I can't remember the order, was when we were growing the business, and we were at about just under 2, like 1.5, 1.7. And I found out my expenses were higher than my monthly revenue. I had a month where I did 70,000 in revenue. That was amazing. And my expenses were 72. And how I had to completely reinvent from the inside out, how I ran business and how I looked at everything. That changed everything for me. And then we had a big transformation where I went from 3 to 10 million in 1 year. That's like 6
in 1 year.
Yes.
You made
and
that
that's
shift.
after being in business for like 10 plus years, and like where a lot of businesses start to mature and stuff. And so there's a lot, like, and I can talk about all of them. I can talk about one. Is any of those jumping out at you? Because each of those feels like the huge breakthrough. And that's the big thing I'm really passionate about with entrepreneurs. Your business is a reflection of you. So you grow, the business grows. And what I look for and what I love working with my clients in is causing or being the catalyst for these breakthroughs, these quantum leaps. I'm bored of linear. I'm bored of 10% growth. Like, let's do something explosive. And it took something different for each of those jumps. So are any of those, I don't know.
Yeah. You know what? I'm very interested. What was the thing? So you're saying each one took a different, a different thing was required for each one. Was there was there something that you had to do? Was there an order to it in terms of, hey, processes, you know, or team management, or, you know, like things like that, you know, like what were those, you know, were there consistent things you found yourself, like, did you have to go through mindset first before you focused on, you know, creating clarified processes and things like that, you know, digging deeper into your company? Like,
it's great. It's great. If you're asking what's the common theme, what I tell people as I joke is like, what I've really discovered is the secret to my success. You know, it's like the secret. The common theme in every single one of those, the one thing that was the same universally in all of those huge leaps, was letting go. I think entrepreneurs get really excited and passionate about like personal development, personal growth, like I grow, but then they think that personal growth means adding on. That's what I thought for a long time. Like, I got to be a better person than I am now. Like, I'm not good enough. So I have to learn more skills. I have to acquire more things, and boom, 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 and add on. It's almost like buying like a Honda Civic and then saying, get the leather seats, get the power steering, get the power window, you know, adding on. And what I recognize that my journey and each of those stepping stones, each of those quantum leaps, as I call them, was actually a shedding or letting go process. And that's the universality of it. Now, that's letting go in a physical 3D external, and that mindset piece that people love to throw the word mindset around all the time, right? The letting go of what's no longer serving me, what I consume my mind with that I think is important, that I am concerned with, that I finally let go. So like the one where we went, this was the first like, oh, wow, big one.
This is your breakthrough moment. Yeah.
This was like the big breakthrough. Like the first one that kind of caused a change is when we went from 208, we're going cruising. And I thought I was like the bee's knees. Like, I'm doing great. I'm so happy. I'm so successful. Blah, 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 blah. I felt like the top. And I was making about 280,000 a year. And then boom, I think it was like, it was about 280,000. And we went to over 1 million, 1.1, 1.2, something like that. We ended in 1 year.
Yeah.
And people ask, what did you do? So that's the thing. A lot of people, I understand it because I was there, but a lot of people are focused on the doing and only the doing. And then they get trapped into this mindset of the one right, best, only mindset.
Right.
Hey, Casey, what's the best?
Only one way.
Right. What's the best way to sell? What's the right type of product? What's the only price point, right? Best, right, one, only mindset, as if there's only one. Okay. And so people will say like, well, what did you do differently? What's that secret thing that you like hid, you know, that only the gurus know about or whatever?
Right.
As if they're not doing the same things you're doing. They're just maybe doing it differently. And I'm telling you, one thing changed, man. One stupid little thing changed. And I so emphasize this because it sounds so small and so insignificant. But this is 2013, January. I can take you back there. I don't know what it is, but I can always remember these dates of these pivotal moments of when our life changes, it transforms. It's January.
Yeah.
And I finally let go of the you guys are going to think it's stupid, the need to be liked. Everything I was doing up in my business to that point was secretly to get people to like me. That was my marketing strategy. Casey, if you like me, you'll buy from me. That was my strategy. Now, here's the funny and the problem with that. I learned a lot of stuff from Dan Kennedy, old school. Oh my goodness, right? Go back to the old school stuff and you won't get the copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. You'll get the purest stuff. He'd always say, the biggest sin in marketing is to be boring. And when you're trying, when your energy, when your output is from the intention of, I want people to like me, You have to be boring because you have to be vanilla. You have to be, let's please everybody. Are they going to like me? Is this going to be what they like? Or they, and everything is, I don't want to rock the boat because I want them to like me. And that's what I was doing with everything.
Always do that voice.
Always. I am notorious for having a lot of voices on the show. I'm sorry.
I love it. Sorry, I didn't mean to distract you. That voice was really amazing, though.
I'm so scared.
I really love that. I love that you're talking about like, marketing strategy to just be liked. Basically, doing so, you're not pervasive. You're not finding your own tone, and you're just bland, right?
You're bland, and then everyone sees your stuff and they're like, yeah, I agree. Thanks for the reminder. Like, that's who you are. And that you hear that a lot of times. Thanks for the reminder, Casey. It's like, well, so then I'm just telling you what you already know. And when you look, why this is such an important but so simple concept is anyone listening, there's people you follow for your own marketing, business, personal, maybe spiritual growth, whatever, who you call a thought leader, right? And if I asked you, why do you follow these people? First off, I would, you think of the people that you follow that you're like, oh, I really follow, love listening to, receiving information, coaching, mentoring from such and such and such. We can all agree that they are not the only person teaching this. I'm not the only person. You're not the only person. We have competitors. You have options out there is what I'm saying. So why do you follow the people that you follow? And when I've asked this question to live audiences of 600 people, I've asked this digitally, virtually, in person, one-on-one. And the answer always comes down to a theme of qualities, characteristics, and ways of being that person desires to have more of themselves. Wow, I follow Casey because he's just got such a huge heart, and he just cares. I follow Casey because he's so authentic, because he just says what's on his mind, because he exudes so much confidence and so much certainty. It's all of those things, right? He speaks as you've heard people say, they just speak their truth. They speak their mind. They don't give an F what people think. And that's what's really funny. What is one of the most unattractive qualities? This is like part of the whole cosmic joke. What is one of the most unattractive qualities somebody could possess? The need to be liked. You know what?
Yeah.
He's trying way too hard. He's trying way too hard. That's needy, pushy, pushes you away. And that's what I'd been doing. And it was the last place I was looking. I was looking at what's the strategy, what's the skill, what could I be doing better? How can I make this landing page with this funnel and And that's great. And that stuff's so important. But I wasn't looking at myself. I wasn't looking at how I was showing up on the video. I wasn't looking at what I was putting out there, or how I was making people feel, or what I was leaving people with. And when I just said, I just said a simple switch is, I want to help people. I love helping people. And I don't need you to like me in order for me to help you. Right. And I got some things to say, and here they are. Take it or leave it. And wow. That changed everything, because I realized every decision I was making in my business was from that filter of, what if they don't like it? What if they're upset? And I was holding myself back in innumerable ways. How I priced my products, how I sold my products, how I presented myself, just in like there's the whole idea, notion, I think it was J. Abraham, the law of preeminence. The entire notion that the brain consumes more calories, burns more calories than any organ in the body. And so we're always in this brain calorie conservation mode. So when it comes to learning, solving, fixing a problem, instead of going through all that heavy lifting and thinking, we just want to look for someone who is the best. And the brain is always like the Terminator, looking for the best. Boom, that guy right there. And then just tell me what to do. So if you're out there selling coaching, content, courses, membership, whatever, and you have not been effective at demonstrating authority and expertise, then no one will buy from you. But let me say it this way. if your prospect doesn't already experience you as the authority or the expert, they will not buy from you. It is an absolute prerequisite. But I wasn't doing that. I wasn't demonstrating that. I was like more scared. Oh, I don't want people to think I'm bragging, or I don't want people to think I'm this or that, or sorry, my alarm went off. Do you know what I mean? So that changed everything. And it's so simple, but a lot of people aren't doing it. A lot of people have heard what I'm saying before, but then they have that inability to like look in the mirror and say, but am I doing that? And that changed everything for me.
That's amazing. I mean, that impact in your life has, I mean, that you've had a 10x growth from that, you know,
I know, man.
Was it 2013? Like, that's when you had the realization, sounds like, right? And then that's when you,
that's when
having that upward trajectory.
That's when I started letting, that's when I started letting go stuff. That's when I started to realize the more you let go, the more you let in. So I let go of the need to be liked. I let go of caring about people, what they think of me. And that sounds like kind of narcissistic and whatever, but you have to. Now, there's like two Jameses. And that's, I think, it's important for me to share some of these things, because there's the James that when he comes home and he's with friends, family, spouse, you know, all that type of stuff, like, yeah, I care what they think about me. These are the people in my life. But then there's that, I don't want to call it a persona, but it's the James that's out there, just like there's the Casey that's out there. And I drew a line and I walked over it, that I'll never let a complete stranger or someone who's just not in my life dictate how my life goes. Not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And that's what I'd been doing. And it's just, I let go of that need to be liked, or giving my personal power away to someone's opinions or judgments. And when you realize that people are just always in their opinions and judgments all day long, you know, someone is listening to this and they're already going, do I agree? I don't agree. I think he's coming off a little too strong, or I've heard this before and he's just repeating something I've already said. This is boring. Let's fast forward. You know, we're all in that all day long.
Right.
And so everyone's doing that. And so when you make your life of, I'm not going to follow my dreams, I'm not going to live in my purpose, I'm not going to be happy, I'm not going to have fun, I'm not going to do what I love or what matters to me, because someone out there is running on autopilot all their judgments and opinions, which really says more about them than me in the first place. That's tragic. I think too many of us.
Why would I let that affect me? You know,
exactly.
It's tragic for letting that someone I don't even know affect me. How much mindset is in your programs? Like, this is such a major thing, and it sounds like it was such a major explosive thing for you. How deep do you go in some of your programs around this same sort of realization?
That's a really great question, because it's so bizarre. I mean, your podcast, I would imagine everything and nothing. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I imagine your podcast breaks that down. You actually, I mean, I think, I feel like your podcast was the answer to you always reminding yourself of that notion. And maybe, and you can correct me if I'm completely wrong, or if I'm sort of on.
Here's what it was, man, because you saw me. I was going around talking about YouTube and online video.
Right.
And this is like a half incongruence, but there started to feel an incongruence for me, because what I was doing, and I don't think there's anything wrong with this, it's just the natural evolution, like I was talking about at the beginning of, I was saying YouTube is the best way to grow your business. It's the fastest way. It's the best way to get, you know, a deeper connection with people. Like the celebrity effect. It's a real thing. I mean, I remember seeing Will Ferrell at my local beach in Laguna Beach, California one day, and I lost my ish. Like, I was like, what? Will Ferrell's here. And then I remember thinking, like, wow, why am I starstruck? Like, what causes that? Yeah. And then you realize that like, we all have that ability. I've seen people that see me in person after watching my videos. Like, I go to an event, like, oh my God. And I'm like, whoa, you're doing that same thing I was doing to Will Ferrell, like, his video. So there was a huge power, still is, but I was saying that. And then I was looking at my own life, my own business, and I was saying, I don't think it's the video that's actually causing the 90% of the results and the success that I'm having. So I'm sitting there going, it's this 3D external thing called an online video, but I see a lot of people who have video and they suck. Their videos are awful. So it's not really video. Video is like a tool. Video is a part of it.
Right.
You know, and you look at all the tools that are out there, even a webinar, there's people that just have really crappy webinars. Your webinar sucks. But I don't get it. People said webinars are the fastest way to make more sales and go from like a lead to a sale. Not if it's a sucky webinar.
Right.
But I followed all the steps, and it's like, yeah, but if your content sucks, if your offer sucks, if your energy sucks, if your presentation skills sucks, what'd you expect to happen?
Yeah.
And so I started going, a lot of what results are happening in my life are all from within. Is something that's coming from within that is different that I'm putting into my stuff. It's something that I'm thinking about differently. I'm causing differently. And I could sit there and tell 1,000 people to make a video like this. And 90% of them were like, oh man, I gave you everything. And it's like, the video's awful. The content's awful. The energy's awful. So that's where I said, I have to talk about this because this has been such a cause of my own success. And if I'm not talking about it, I'm going to lead into a further gap of incongruence or lack of alignment. So 470 episodes, I talk about what people call mindset. That's a lot of episodes. My programs, here's what we did very unique and different with Business by Design. And I'm not talking about this to plug my stuff. I'm talking about this to say everything I do is I want to think about how to do things differently, not just for different sake, but to do it better, right? Always. How do I innovate? How do I do better? What's missing? How can I solve and improve? In this industry, you know, if you guys are listening or in this industry, it moves at the speed of light. And I can share my antidote to that, because if you're just constantly having to react to an industry's fast pace, you're going to be constantly left behind. Yeah. But here's what we noticed. When we talk about mindset, just now I'm answering your question, is what people are going for is results. They want results, more sales, more clients, more customers, more money, whatever, right? They want those results. So I became obsessed with what is preventing the results. And now I do this with my clients. Like, you have a course, you have a product, like, let's get obsessed about what's preventing, because it's always going to be the most successful marketing strategy is word of mouth, always. So when people hear, like, have you heard of this gal's program? Like, are you kidding me? Like, she's amazing. This stuff's unbelievable. Like,
getting massive
that will
results.
that will, you know, so that's what needs to be on our mind. So I noticed that there were two things. The first is people are buying these mega big courses, and then they're spending like the next 6 months of their life going through and consuming hundreds of boring videos. And now at the end of these videos, you're left with, here's all the things I didn't know I need to be doing that I now need to be doing that I haven't done because I haven't had the time to do them. Right. And I was like, I think that's just adding to the problem. So here's what we did. And it started with my own transformation within the business. Remember I told you the little cliff note of, we had 70,000 in expenses. Yes. Sorry, 70,000 in revenue, 72,000 expenses. Yep. So here's the 30-second version of what we did, that internally first in the business and then into our programs. We took the Lego instruction manual as a metaphor and plugged that into our business. So whether I want to create a landing page, a survey, or run an entire multi-million-dollar launch, we created a step-by-step Lego instruction manual for it. And we had a team of virtual assistants, and I would take that Lego instruction manual and I say, here, create this landing page. Here, create this webinar. Like we used to do a lot of live webinars. So all the moving pieces, the landing page connected to your webinar provider, connected to your autoresponder with your emails and your confirmation and the links and the date and the time and the blah, 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 blah. Yeah. All those pieces, all those moving pieces that are in our head. Oh, what do I need? And so much wasted brain power. Oh, what do I need to do? Oh, and I forgot to link this, and this isn't working, and that tag is the wrong tag. Yeah. We processed out the entire thing. We handed it to a brand new virtual assistant that had never worked for us. 48 hours later, they came back 100% done, working perfect, flawless. We were blaming the people, including myself, not the process. And when we dialed in the process, that changed everything. So what Business by Design became, first and foremost, as the foundation, is the playbook, the Lego instruction manual for every single aspect of your business, from how to create a course, to how to fulfill on the program, to how to create all the marketing assets, pages, etc. Even things like how to create the perfect email, to how to send out that email. You know how amazing it is when someone is, and this is what our students are doing, is they're newer. You know, we have people have come in. It's really interesting. 7 figures, and we have people that have come in that are brand new. Someone who's newer comes in, they hire their first virtual assistant, and then they hand over a process to send out an email, and the assistant, boom, does it. And they just got back an hour of their time that they didn't even know they'd be wasting, like most people do, doing all those things themselves. And that was the foundational piece. Now, all of that is rooted in action. Step 1, log into Easywebinar.
Yeah.
Step 2, click this button over in the corner, create new webinar, whatever.
Right.
And literally, boom, 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 process. Like, if you can read and follow directions, then you can do this.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. And then you hand it off to people. That's the foundation. But what I always find is self-sabotage, and the humanness that makes us human mucks it all up. If we were robots, we would have no problem whatsoever. Just input, output, follow these steps, done.
Execution.
But execution complete. Yeah. And see, there's more voices for you, buddy. So that's not happening. That's the majority of people will find a way to overcomplicate it, skip a step. I don't know what it is. And we saw that happening. And so I had to begin to bring that into it. And so a lot of what, and this is for anyone else who is, I know it's very fascinating. It's like, I can give you 10 steps without skipping any step, perfect detail, and I'll watch 8 out of 10 people mess it up. And it's just the funny wonkiness of human nature. So what I'm about to share, again, this is not to talk about my program. This is to say that there is an opportunity here for everyone listening who's selling any type of coaching program to radically, because now we teach this, but radically transform your customer experience and produce deeper results. So what we started to do, this is gonna open a little bit of a rabbit hole, but you just tell me where you want to go with this.
I'm down. This is what I want. I mean, I want this because I know process was a big one for you. I mean,
process
structure was structure, instructions, step by step by step by step. I know that was big. And so what I love you're talking about right now is the mindset, mindset stuff, and how you had to get people to take action, keep them accountable. It sounds like you're going to maybe dig into that a bit. So please,
a little formula. Yeah. Because the first piece is about structure, processes, execution guides, whatever you want to call them.
Yep.
People think a business gives you freedom. You know how many people out there have a business that are less free than when they were working a job? I mean, no, business does not guarantee diddly squat. I will say structure is the access to freedom. The more structure that your business has, the more freedom that you get to have back. So think about that one. Okay. So this piece, what you want to ask yourself, and you want to journal on, you want to write this down. What is preventing my students, my customers? If we already know that more of them completing my programs and more of them getting results is going to make me more sales, then this is a relevant, important question to be asking. What is preventing my students from completing my programs? What is preventing my students from taking action on my programs? And what is preventing my students from getting results with my programs? Because chances are, for the majority of us, the majority of them are not. You have that 10, 20% superstars. You got like 10% who are rocking it, but then there's a majority that don't finish, don't start, don't complete it, don't put it into action, don't get results. Right. You want to start to what's causing that? And what you'll notice when you tune to that is the stories they tell themselves. And so what we boil these down to are the beliefs. And there are 2 types of beliefs as they exist in language. There's a belief that I would call a prediction-based belief, what they believe will happen. If I do this, then that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another belief that we would call an equivalence-based belief, which is a this is that, this means that. I am this, I am not that. These two beliefs are ruling people's lives and they don't even know it. And this is something I've been diving in, and we've created an entire coaching methodology. Don't even get me started on that, Casey. We have a team of over 40 coaches that I have trained in a specific, they work with me for 90 days straight. And then every month we have, updates and continual training and practice. And they work with me at different levels through all of my programs. And 90% of it is working through the stories, AKA the beliefs that we tell ourselves. And so many come up, so many unbelievable, ridiculous beliefs that I realize
self-limiting beliefs, right? Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
And
I realized these were all the beliefs that I had. And this is the most beautiful realization to have, is like all the struggle for your listeners that you're going through or have gone through, just like all the struggle I went through, is all the experience and wisdom that you're accruing so that you are now equipped with the ability and the mastery to help others through those same things. And that's what I just kept noticing, is like I had to work through these myself, and now we help our clients. So for example, two types of beliefs, right? This equivalence, which is this equals this, this means this, this is this, A equals B. And then there's the predictive or causation type beliefs. So for example, I'm going to have you fill this out. Someone comes to us and they say, I think I'm undercharging. Great. So what would our advice be? Raise your prices. So what do you think would be the big belief, or 5, that would prevent them from raising their prices? If I raise my price, see how it's if this then, it's caused, it's future based, it's predictive. If I raise my prices, then
no one will buy my product.
No one will buy my product. So this is a belief. This is something that the amygdala area of the brain is looking for threats. And this is a potential threat, even though it doesn't exist. It's a future prediction that we've hooked our brain onto. If I raise my prices, no one will buy. And then we go and then we add a link in the chain to that one. And if no one buys, then I won't make money. And if no one makes money, I have to close my business down. If it's closed my business down, I got to go get a job. But if there's no jobs, I'm not going to be able to get a job, which means we're not going to be able to pay the mortgage, which means we're going to be homeless. Oh my goodness, I can't raise my prices, right? all of this is being the inaction. And here's the funny thing. It's people say it's so hard and so scary to raise my price. And it's so funny because I say, wait a second. We just log into our little Sandcart, Kajabi, whatever, and we add a 0 or we change the 9 to a whatever, press save. You just raised your prices. There was nothing hard about that action.
Right.
What was hard was what we created in our mind. And that's why so much of all the things that you and others and myself teach people to do are hard, because complicating things keeps us safe. Overwhelm keeps us safe. Confusion keeps us safe. Everything that will change your life and your business exists outside your comfort zone. You guys have heard these cliches 1,000 times, and they're actually, ironically, really simple. You know how simple it really is to create your first webinar, make your first sale. It might be ugly and it might suck. You can do it again, do it again, do it again. You're going to get better, better, better. These are skills. Skills mean the more you practice, the better you get. Better you get, the more results you get. But if it puts you at risk of failure, rejection, shame, disappointment, guilt, whatever, there's a part of you that will protect you from all of that. And I'm undercharging, but it's so hard, so scary, so heavy, so much resistance to raise my price. It's all that fear, all the beliefs, and all the stories. And what we're doing is, I don't have oh, here's all the mindset. What I do, Casey, is when I'm giving a principle, and we can talk about that, it's like a lot of what I do is teaching from principles, tried and true, business, sales, marketing, influence principles, people are going to have resistance to adopt or run from those principles because they're operating from a belief already. And so I'm baking into all my content, and a lot of times people don't even know it. I'm baking in the belief conversation. So I'll be sitting there saying, in this, just to give you a simplistic example, in this module, we're going to talk about my process for how to price your products, right? And I'll give them the process and say, now you might be sitting there and already be operating from the belief and the fear that if you raise your prices, no one will buy from you.
Right.
So now I'm calling it out and I'm talking to it. I'm not just saying, hey, in this video, I'm just going to tell you, raise your prices. Okay, next video. Because if I tell you something once, but you've been telling yourself about 1,000 times every day, raise your prices means no one's going to buy from you, you're going to listen to the thing you've been saying 1,000 times, than the thing I said once. So I'm going to begin to talk about that. I'm going to begin to address, I already said, the fear and the belief that you might mistakenly be already choosing to believe. I'm even letting people know it's just a belief and it's a mistake, is that raising your prices is going to make sure no one buys from you.
Right.
And there's a lot of ways in which I begin to talk about that belief, discredit that belief, and get people to move to a different way of thinking. Here's an example of how I do that.
Yeah.
I give metaphor is a very powerful one. I love metaphors. And examples like that. And I say, I give my own stories as metaphors. So just to kind of riff on that one for a second, a lot of times I say, so a lot of people think that if they lower their prices, then more people will buy. The first problem with this is you're attracting people that are making their decision on price.
Yes.
Versus value transformation. And is that really the type of person you want to attract in your business? Take a look at Walmart. Take a look at Saks Fifth Avenue. I don't know, to give some contradiction.
Yeah.
What type of people shop at Walmart? What type of people shop at Saks? I mean, there's literally a website called People of Walmart, if you want to have a good laugh. There's not a website called People of Saks. And what that tells us is that price determines who you attract. The caliber, quality of commitment, not like a person, like, oh, this is a better person. No. The caliber of commitment. And then I'll use myself and I'll say things like, and so again, I'm talking about all these things.
Yeah, like your first products and things like that. Yeah.
Yes. Instead of just only focusing on the doing, I'm looking at what are the beliefs preventing the doing. And then I'm going to make an argument to discredit that old belief and bring in the new perspective.
Right.
So in fact, I didn't even call it a belief. I called it a perspective. So, I'll say things like, if my program was $7, would you buy it?
Right.
Or would you just maybe you would, and then you just throw it away and never use it because you wouldn't see the value.
Right.
Have you ever considered that raising your price helps to convey and communicate the value of what you deliver? And when people see that value and they put that skin in the game,
they get the transformation.
They're more likely to follow through and get the transformation.
I mean,
so everything I'm doing is, let's look at the belief. Let's discredit the old story. Let's reinforce the perspective that I operate.
So and I think that's amazing. Like, when I think about like the struggles most entrepreneurs make, it's this fundamental problem. They see the marketing, they understand it, and you've given them literally a blueprint, a playbook. But if they don't execute on the playbook because they're not in the right state of mind, there is going to be the execution just not going to happen. So what I love that you're doing and you're saying is like that's the biggest thing that stops them is that those disbeliefs, those the things the conversations that they keep having in their head over and over and over again as to why they can't do this or why they can't do that. I love that you're talking about that. And So with all of this, like, does this define scalability? Like, in your opinion? And we only have a little bit left. So first off, thank you so much for the time,
Oh yeah, man.
you gave us today. Do you feel like this is, what's the key to scaling your business in that in that regard? Like, what?
Yeah.
Is it what you just said? Is it
No. Oh, what about what I said about just about what specifically?
Yeah, like what do you think is like the key to scaling your business up?
Yeah, it goes back to let go.
Just summarizing.
It goes back. That's the short answer, and I can elaborate on what that means for me.
Well, you already. I mean, yeah. That's the thing.
It's different at every phase.
Yeah. So first it was letting go of being liked. Right.
Yeah, I was letting go of the fears and these kind of things that you're just like, because that's what it is, man. You put yourself out there. Mm-hmm. Like it's actually a very simple business model that we run that everyone here who has this type of, it's very simple. Attract an audience and sell them what they want. Like, come on, like this is so simple. Have a great offer. Make the sale. Ask. People are going to say no. People are going to say yes. Great. Keep going. Do it again. Make more offers. Put it in front of more people. You're going to make more money. It's really simple. But when you have all that internal stuff, you're going to make it complicated. You're going to make it hard, right? So that was the first piece. Now let's talk about scaling. Yeah. For me, there's a statement we talk about. So as I said, the first one, which is the more structure you have in your business, the more freedom you get. So structure is an important piece. Mm-hmm. The systems, that looking to the process, the streamline efficiency of how things are done in a streamlined, structured manner. What comes with that is the letting go. So the next line I say is the powerful piece is the role you fill within your business determines the results you receive. So what people don't really realize, because I know I didn't for a long time, is that when you say I have a business now, people collapse all the roles and think it's just this like one role that you're in. Mm-hmm. And that it couldn't be further from the truth. The moment a business exists, even just through your words of I have a business now, several roles got created simultaneously. There's the role of customer support, of copywriter, of tech, of admin, of assistant, scheduler, branding, all these roles. Mm-hmm. But people don't see that. They don't see that the moment you said, I have a business now, that there's an org chart with anywhere from 5 to 50, who knows, depending on your business, different seats, different roles. Mm-hmm. And then you're filling all of them, or trying to, and not even realizing it, and you're overwhelmed and you're working 40 hours a day. No wonder. No wonder. But we didn't even know that. And so what happens there is we're spending a lot of time. Well, let me go back. Let me say something else first. I think the inherent nature of this type of business being a personal brand is actually really simple to get going, and actually the hardest to scale, because you recognize how much of a bottleneck you inherently are. Like if you and I ran a landscaping company, right, and our job was to go out and like mow lawns and trim trees, you and I could just hire people to do that for us, run the business, boom. You know what I mean? It wouldn't require too much of us if we wanted to retire. Right. And we're just funding it and paying the bills and stuff like that, right? Signing the checks. But you look at this business and you look at how much it requires of you. Like, you don't want me to bring someone else on my team for this interview. Right? So I'm here. I mean, you probably wouldn't. I mean, they're cooler than me. You'd probably like them more than me. But it's like, no, I want James on the call.
Same with me, by the way. Yeah. Way cooler than I am. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a testament of, being a great leader, building a great team. So I have to be here for this. I get to be here for this. That's a choice, but like, it's required of me to be here. And when I do my podcast, it's me. Right. Yeah. When I teach my program, it's me. When I do the launch, it's me. Copy, Instagram. Oh my goodness. And that's just the outward face aspect of it. But then there's all the other aspects that we're still doing. So we quickly become this bottleneck. And then of course, when you have a lot of attachment to it, it's like, oh, that's not my voice. I wouldn't say it that way. I don't use that word, or
Yes.
right. And we are just bottlenecking ourselves and overworking. So I set out to fix that in every single way possible. And so I think I'd just advise, this is higher level. Like when we work with clients, we usually start when they're roughly at about 500,000 to 700,000 a year in digital product sales before we really start looking at this.
Yeah.
And I say, here's the first thing we need to do. You need to figure out your org chart. A lot of people don't know their org chart. And to flush that out and to see where you have been filling. And for most, it's like all of them. And the kind of overly simplistic game with what we have in time here is, my job is to constantly move myself up the org chart and spend as much time there and as little time towards the bottom, and get the right people to fill that.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be really hard to do if you don't have that structure in place, if you don't have those systems and processes in place. But what I find today, like just to get to the end of the story, where we took the business from 3 to 10 million, came down to one thing, really. I began a new question. Tony Robbins, actually, he got it from Richard Bandler, founder of NLP. Powerful quote. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of questions we ask ourselves. I think questions are so powerful, because when you ask a question, no matter what the question is, the subconscious mind must go to work looking for the answer. But a lot of us are driven in our life by some really crappy quality questions, like, why does this always happen to me?
Yeah.
Or when is this ever going to work? What an awful question, because you can just feel the energy of it. It's like you already decided it's not.
Victimized. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Whereas something like, what am I missing here that I need to learn? Oh, wow. Genuine, pure curiosity.
Yeah.
So we wanted to go to 10 million a year. I had hired a leadership coach for my number 2 in the company, and we told her the goal. She laughed at us. She literally laughed at us when she said, well, what's your goal this year? And we said 10 million. She goes, where are you at right now? I'm like, well, we wrapped up the year at 3. And she, like a compulsive laugh.
From a like she had something in her mouth. She would spit it out.
Like that's, like, okay, like
spit take?
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. But like, what's like the realistic number? And I was like, thank you so much for laughing at me, because nothing drives me more than proving people wrong.
Right.
And so we did it, and it was all driven by one question, or an offshoot of one question, which was, what does and it's such a simple question, but what does a $10 million a year business do? How does a $10 million a year CEO think? What would he do here? What decision would he make? How would you do this in a $10 million a year company? And I obsessed over that question. And what I found little by little was that the answers that kept coming to me was my role needed to continue to change. And so I was fully in that visionary, what we call the digital CEO role, where your number one thing is, where are we going and why are we doing it? Number 2, it was fostering the culture through the values and the energy of the team. You want to go fast, go alone, as they say, but you want to go far, we go together. Right. And a few great people by your side will take you further than you can ever imagine. And your job becomes cultivating and fostering this team. And so what my role really became, and again, this is higher level stuff. This isn't someone who started a business yesterday. This is not going to be relevant for you. I get that, but log this away and come back one day and this will change everything. But my number one thing became being the coach and the mentor to my A players. And that's where I found that's where the $10 million a year CEO can have the most value within the entire organization, lifting up and creating leaders and supporting them to be high performing A players. And that began to change everything for us on a whole nother stratosphere. So scaling means unbottlenecking yourself. And you can't do that when you don't let go. When you have too much control and ego, you're going to continue to bottleneck yourself. When you don't have the structure in place and the great people in place to follow that structure, it's going to all fall back at you, and you're going to continue to collapse everything back on yourself and prevent that massive scalability. And that's what we had to do. And that was hard. It wasn't easy. This is simple. It's not easy. But that in a nutshell is like how we started looking at scaling.
So you just told everybody here who's listening how to scale to $10 million, how to become a digital CEO who's removing themselves as the bottleneck. I mean, that's absolutely powerful. And I agree with everything you're saying. It fostering the leaders in your organization, entrepreneurs, however,
absolutely.
Whoever is working with you, that owning the roles, energized, excited about those roles, for sure. Amazing. James, thank you. I appreciate it.
Dude, you want to talk about our Easywebinar funnel?
I mean, we can. Yeah. Well, let's how's it going?
Dude,
what's happening? So you're doing a webinar, right?
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
It's rocking and rolling, man. I love it because we've been known for like doing these big launches. And people start to think like, I just like to mess with people, because people just have their opinions and decisions about things. And they're like, oh, James is all about big launches and nothing else works or whatever. And so I'm just laughing. And so in our spare time, we just created this automated funnel, and it's pacing $1 million in sales this year. And for a $497 product, and we're using Easywebinar. And and it's amazing, and we love it. And we're I think one of the coolest features that we did is I wanted to have a different experience than people would get with an automated webinar. So everything was about framing it differently. And I think this is where it comes down to what I was talking about earlier about like, if you have crappy stuff and you do a crappy webinar, don't blame the webinar. So we wanted to frame it differently. We didn't want it to say 60-minute free webinar. Why? Because, we exist and operate in a more sophisticated marketplace. And so if your market is more sophisticated than you, then your stuff's not going to work. So I wanted it to be different. I always like to zig when others zag. So it's a 30-minute training. I made it shorter. And I mean, that was like the big thing. Like, how do I show it? Yeah.
You're selling right off the webinar, right?
0 to 30 minutes. And it's doing like a couple thousand a day. Like that's nuts.
So awesome.
It's so awesome. And so I had to think, I was like, how do I make this different? How do I give this a different experience? And I said, well, and still provide unbelievable value. Don't get me wrong. Like I wanted it to be unbelievable valuable, but I said, well, first of all, let's not call it a webinar. Let's not call it any of the things that people have been conditioned to. Let's change the time. I said, it's a 34-minute video, and I'm going to walk you through. So it's for our sales training program. Sales page training program. I don't know if I included the word page in there. So it's basically, we have an awesome little process and system. Again, a lot of stuff we do is like, we create a process that works for us in our business, and then we can like sell or offer it. We have a really great process for how to create a sales page, like in as little as 2 days, if you really wanted to, if you want to block off 2 days for it. And it's all based on like templates of different sections. And so I said 34-minute video. I'm going to show you 5 things that had the biggest increase in conversions on our sales page. 5 things that if you add even one of these is going to increase your performance and conversions on your sales page. And I just walk through those 5 things in a 30-minute video. And I even I think this is really great copy messaging practice for people, is like, look at what people talk about objections, right? The objections that people have about you, about your stuff, about buying. And about themselves. But are you looking at the objection that people have about the way you're selling it. Oh, this is just another one of those webinars.
Yeah.
60-minute sales, because we've all seen those 60-minute fluff-filled sales pitches.
Yes.
So people see a couple of those, and then they make a decision. It's called a generalization. Generalizations will get you in trouble when you go, oh, this is just one of those 60-minute sales pitches.
Right.
So if I join, I'm talking to one of your listeners, if I join your webinar and that's already in my mind, that's how I'm experiencing all of your stuff, even if it's really good. Oh, this is just a sales pitch. Oh, so that's the first thing, is I wanted it to be different. And then I call that out. And I'm like, I know you've been here on these training calls and it's like 20 minutes of me telling you my life and my why and my reasons for doing things. And here's a picture of my family and blah, blah, blah. And then it's like another 30 minutes of fluff and you're like waiting to get to the good stuff. And then by the time you think you're getting to the good stuff, I'm going to sell you something. And I said, this is not it. In fact, I said, here's my bio in like, 45 seconds or something like that. It's like, here's just the most important bullet points that I just need you to know, just so you can like trust what I'm saying.
Right.
And then let my results speak for myself. And I say, and here, I'm not even going to talk about, my program and stuff. Like I do this whole thing where it's just like, yeah, I'm going to sell something at the end, but you don't even need to. You just need these 5 things and you can make a difference.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm reframing. I'm letting people know, like, I get that that's out there and it exists. Let me show you why this is not that. I said, all you need, you could just watch one of these little hacks and tweaks and take it and run and you're good.
Yeah.
And then I get to the end. I'm like, obviously that was 5 and I have a lot more. And if you want help building the entire sales page, I'd love to help you with that. And here's my program for that. And 30 minutes to the sale. And it does unbelievably well.
That's so amazing. I love that you kind of like, when people are going in one direction, you just went the other, right? You called it out.
Yeah.
And you just shared like quality value. And then you said, I have more than this. I mean, that's so simple, but we have so many barriers that we get stuck with,
Right.
so many templates, like this is the perfect webinar template. And this is the, like we all get stuck in that. And then, but there's also fatigue that comes with it. So, I think what I like is that, I start to call webinars just an experience in general, and you have to figure out what the best experience is going to be for the people watching to have the decision of, I'm going to pull out my credit card, right? What gets them to that decision, right? So you always have to reinvent the experience to figure out how you can get to that decision. And that's awesome. That's a cool, I love this. I mean, now we get to share James's 30-minute, success story.
Totally.
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, and that was really awesome. I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. Cause you start to hear things like, oh, why is it 60 minutes? Does it have to be 60 minutes? If it's shorter, is it going to fail?
Oh, yeah. Wait, you're selling on a webinar? Oh, that has to be 60 minutes to 2 hours, right? Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Because there's also a lot of stuff that we do to like qualify beforehand.
Yeah.
We're actually, I think one of the cool opportunities, not everyone will have this opportunity, but one of the things that we're doing is, as I share the hacks, here's your sales page hacks. I'm using the sales page for the offer that I'm selling at the end. So I get to speak about the program throughout it. So it's
like, hey, it's so meta. Check it out below. We're right here. It's all here for you. Yeah.
It's because I get to be so much more efficient with that. Instead of going, here's 30 minutes of content and then let me talk about the program for 30 minutes. It's like, no, they're one and the same actually. Like they just go together. And that was really awesome. But yeah, just to your note about the experience, it's gotta be an experience for people. And when you ask that question, like what's preventing them from buying, like what needs to happen in order for them to buy? But the last thing I'll say, and this is something I talk so much about, I firmly hold the perspective that this notion of, just give your best stuff and people will buy is outdated advice. I don't want to say it's bad advice because I think it worked, but we're reaching in most markets more sophistication today than yesterday. And so that's an unsophisticated strategy, because I can't tell you how many people have come to me, and maybe you've had clients come to you and they're like, I don't get it. I used the webinar, I gave my best stuff, but people didn't buy. Yeah. So what are you saying? You still didn't give good enough stuff? And so like the metaphor I use for this is like when you remember food courts and you go to the food court and the person's got the sample, you know, yeah, I remember back then when we could go to the mall, malls. And you know, they got like the toothpicks on the plate. And so someone goes, here, have a little sample, and you taste it and go, oh, this is great. Honey, you want to go here? Yeah, this is great. You got a sample of it. But when people are trying to give their best stuff away on the webinar, that's like going to a food court and someone says, you want this free meal? And they're like, oh, yeah. And they eat the whole thing and they're full and they go, do you want to go shop at our Panda Express? And like, what? I can't even eat another bite of food. I'm so full.
You mean for later, right? No, I'm good.
Yeah, later when I'm hungry again, I gotta digest
every. Yeah.
It's a good metaphor, right?
For sure.
So nailed the metaphor.
Yeah. I mean, I say this too. I say that, you know, like teaching is the killer because we all want to teach. Like we want to be effective teachers. We go into this to help people. And so we're thinking, you know, it's like taking a 6 month of, you know, calculus and trying to cram. Like I've seen people do this, like, you know, they're experts. And so that it's almost like taking 6 months of calculus and cramming it into this short presentation where you're just sharing. You just create the massive overwhelm. People are like, that's awesome. Wow. I gained value, but I'm going to go now because
I got to take a break because
I got to take a break. My brain is about to explode. Yeah.
So here's the way we do it. And if anyone sees this or goes through it, I'm not saying you have to, but we do it in the training. Everything is about, I want to change the way people think about the topic at hand. So when people say things like, Casey, you just blew my mind, or mic drop, I guarantee you folks, anytime you or you've seen anyone else say those phrases, it was never because you taught something like here's step one, boom. It always happens through a shift of perspective. Exactly.
Yes.
I'm going to get you to think about something differently, look at it differently than you've ever thought about it. And when you do that, people go, that was mind blowing. So the question becomes, are you spending more time just filling someone's mind with more stuff?
Right.
Or rather, are you draining and emptying it of the stuff they don't need and helping to shift the way they look at something? That's when everything changes. That's what we do. That goes back to why I was teasing about the belief stuff. We are looking at what are the beliefs that they already have. That's what a misconception is. It's a belief. The mistake is a belief followed by an action that doesn't get you the result. So instead of just going, here's more, we're actually pulling away. Let's remove this wrong way of thinking. Let's remove this mistake. Let's remove this misconception. And what that does is it clears the mind to something new.
Yeah. And if you're running a webinar and you're not seeing people say mic drop or aha, or, you know, and you're asking those questions, then you're not changing their minds. Then you're not getting the response that you're looking for, right?
Why is this so important? Because people buy from thought leaders, not teachers. So to be a thought leader that teaches is going to be you demonstrating and delivering so much more value than just being a teacher. Because think about it, like, and I love teaching, I love teachers, but it's like, there is a difference between like, okay, here's the book, someone else wrote the book, and I'm going to teach the concepts in the book. And that is something that is more replicatable. I'm not saying it's wrong or bad or anything like that. I'm just saying it's more like anyone can do that. But when you're a thought leader, that's hard for anyone else to do that. And that provides way more value to your audience. And so if we're not doing that, like how can I change the way they look at this? Then you're not actually demonstrating the highest level of value that you can. Most people are saying, here's how to do it. And when Casey and I are talking about is, instead of telling people, here's what to do, you're telling people how to think. How to think differently about something.
Right.
And that's powerful.
James, thank you so much for today.
Man.
This was so fun. I mean, I'd love to, I could probably talk to you for so much more time, but, we gained so much. I mean, you just shared basically how to create better experiences, and really unlocking that. How do you change perspective? That's how you create the better experience. I love that you said you create a path, a clearer path. I feel like what you just said was like parting the Red Sea, and it was, and that result will, I mean, once you do that, it will manifest to getting the result at the end. And that's awesome that you're doing these 30-minute presentations. I just absolutely love that. So thanks, final thing, why did you move to Sedona?
I came here with Chelsea in 2015. And before we even got to the hotel, I had no idea what this place was. Mm-hmm. Came here on a whim. It was like part of another trip. Like, oh, we're out here. We might as well stop by in the Sedona place. Mm-hmm. And I saw the Red Rocks for the first time and I melted. Like my heart melted. I was just like in awe. Before we got to the hotel, I was like, how do I get a place out here? And we hadn't even got our own home yet. We were still living in a rental, like looking for our home in California. We both were born and raised in Laguna Beach, California. So it just seemed perfect. So all of this was like illogical, but I kept being driven by that question. And then one of my buddies, to try and make this story as short as possible, I find out one of my buddies has 22 investment properties. And I was just like, wow. And at the same time, another, and I don't know if you know him as well, Mel Abraham, great guy, great friend. He talks a lot about wealth, affluence, and investments for entrepreneurs. And I'm just love that guy to death.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I started learning a lot about like, it's not just about making the money. It's about like, what are you doing with the money and being smart with it, And my family was in real estate. My dad was 40 years in real estate. So I love it. I don't want to ever be a real estate agent, but I love homes, home improvement, stuff like that. And so I was like, maybe we could get an investment property. And so I started talking to a realtor and I come out here and she just says flippantly, she's like, well, yeah, you could get a renter in here, but a lot of my clients are doing that Airbnb thing. This is 2019. I laughed at her. I'm like, come, just like someone laughed at us. I laughed at her. I'm like, come on, wait, what? Like, that's a thing. Like, isn't that just where people rent out a room in their house and stuff? She's like, no, people are renting out the whole house and they're doing really well. So I did the research and people were saying, depending on the market, you can see anywhere from 4 to 6, 100% ROI or whatever, 6x times the mortgage that you pay them. I'm like, no way. Come on. And I just kept doing more research. I'm like, wait, I do the math. I'm like, what? So in December of 2019, December 26, actually, we made an offer for the first of what ended up being 4 properties out here in Sedona. And as soon as good old Corona came to town, I said, I think I'm going to go out to Sedona and just start setting up the Airbnb and just kind of get away from things for a little bit. And then we never left. And that's the story. I've been back to California 3 times in a year. And I just love it out here. So
you came out to fix up your Airbnb and you're just like, well, I'm here.
I thought about crying at the very idea of leaving. I was like, I don't want to go. This is it. And it's a very special place to me. It's very, very magical. And it's just like, I'm in a different phase of my life. We did the 10 million, we did the crushing and blah, 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 blah. And today, even just how we've restructured things, like I don't actually love too much, like the outward facing, the marketing side of things. I love teaching it, but I actually like where I feel best is as soon as someone presses submit with their credit card details and we get to work together, as soon as we get to coach or get on a Zoom call and teach something and walk them through, like that's my favorite part. It's like, if I could just do that all day, because this is very similar to that. Like it's teaching, but just, via a podcast. Like I just do that versus
coaching.
like, what's the new thing we're going to do? And like, how do we grow? Like I'm really kind of like that. I'm fine with wherever we are now. Like, that, and that's the whole thing. I know I go on tangents and I talk a lot, Casey, so you can shut me up at any time, but it becomes a really interesting thing is like, we're driven by these goals, partly because it's like, let's see what I can accomplish. Let's see what else I'm capable to, let's see what I can prove it to, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And, and then you hit those and you're like, now what?
Mm-hmm.
And when we had a $6 million launch, we made $1 million in one day, and you start to have these unbelievable results.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a very dangerous thing to if we just continue to say, okay, now what? Okay, we did 6 million. Now let's do 10 million. No, 10 million. Let's do 20 million. And is that what's always driving you? Is that always the giant vector, the force behind it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a lot more simple. I always want to lean into more simplicity and for myself and for my students. And it's just what I've been telling people now that I've realized the hard way and the easy way, both ways, is the doing is the destination. And if you can make the doing your destination today, you're going to be so much happier. You're going to have so much more fun. And you're there. And that means when you're there, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere you need to get to that you're not there. You're not behind. You're not conditional living is what I call it. Once I, if I, when I, then I can. And you're there. The destination is the doing. The doing is the destination. So my doing is like showing up on a podcast today. What a joy. Like, this is so awesome. I'm not doing it to hear myself talk, even though I talk a lot. It's like, I have a lot I want to share and help people. And if it makes a difference, that's amazing. And that's a win off my, little thing there. So that's kind of where we're at,
I love that. I feel the same way. I feel like the being able to have these moments where I can have a conversation. I mean, obviously I have there's reasons for everything we're doing, but at the end of the day, just this act of being able to talk to you and have a conversation is like, it feeds my soul. It's going to feed the listener's soul. And it's like, it's yes. And it helps on so many different marketing fronts, but that's not there's so much more depth to it than just that piece. And that's, so I love that. I love that you said that it's in the doing. James, this was like just a massive honor to talk to you and also to catch up with you and to hear what you've been up to and to see your beautiful view in the Red Rocks out your window. So
can I point out one last thing?
Yeah.
You and I have the exact same t-shirt. I'm not wearing it today, but I have that t-shirt. What does it say? Is it a location you went to? Was it like Utah or something?
Yeah, it's Glacier National Park.
Yeah, I have one that says Sedona. It's the exact same shirt.
Yeah. This is what me and my family, we're going to be going on, that's why I was like, hey, Sedona might be a spot, but we're going to hit Utah, I think. And then we go through this, like we do 2 months on Diana's parents' farm in Iowa, and then to a lake house where my parents are. But we're going to take a 4 or 5 day drive through Utah, through Colorado, and then and then hit Iowa. So we're already going to hike. We have all three kids though, so it's like we're going to probably do some hiking and stuff like that. But that's like Diana's thing is like outdoor stuff. She just is like, that's her like church, right? So
it's the greatest place to do it. Well, I'll be in I think Utah is about 8 hours from Sedona. But we're going to be up there this July for our mastermind. If you're in the area, you let me know.
Oh wow,
I'd love to have you hang out or whatever. But and I told you I'm building a camper van, right?
Are you? That's incredible.
Dude, it's so incredible. I bought a 2020 Sprinter 170-inch wheelbase Mercedes Sprinter van, empty, naked, just empty van. It's it's high. You can stand in it. We're 6 feet.
Yes.
You can stand in it.
Yeah.
And I'm building this thing out as a complete mobile camping unit, off the grid unit in my spare time. It's because
Yeah. You and I are friends with Chris Harder, and I don't know, did you see his
He has an
camper?
RV, right? He has
They
an
have a
RV.
massive, awesome looking RV. It sounds like you're going to build it. So you're going to build it. You're going to like.
I'm building it as we speak, dude.
Wow.
It is. I did it because it's number one, like I just so jazzed up about the whole camping thing, like to go out in nature and be out there.
Yeah, for sure. Road trip.
And then, you know, zombie apocalypse, end of the world. Who knows? It could be here next
week. Dude,
I
hear you. I
have
we got on when Corona, when COVID hit here, we got in our car before they locked California down. We got in our van and drove all night to basically the farm, right? The kids were sleeping on the ground while we were driving at night through Nebraska and stuff like that. So like, you know, we got out, but we also loved being on the road at that point. And that's, I love that you've done that. That's awesome.
This thing has solar power, right? So it's fully electric, got the batteries and all that type of stuff, running water, heat, air conditioning, hot water, bed, you know, like it's fully, if refrigerators in there, it's a fully functional thing. It's a home on wheels. I'm so excited for it, but it's really kicking my butt, man. It pushes you. So
yeah. That's awesome. Well, when you get that, I want to see pictures. Okay. And or I'm sure you're going to do a walkthrough. So like, that'd be, that's awesome.
Oh yeah. I can't wait. So yeah, man, this has been great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So final thing, where can people find more of you? I know that's such a common question, but I'm assuming just go to @James Wedmore, right? Or
yeah. I'm on the Instagrams. It's my name, James Wedmore, WED with a D for dog. And then our podcast is everywhere that you would listen to podcasts. It's called Mind Your Business. There's 460, 470 some odd episodes where I talk about a lot of things I'm talking about here. It's like what's on my mind. It's what's it's what I've had to learn, who I've had to become, what I've had to let go of. All the crazy notions. And the weird, the woo, all of that. Like I talk a lot about all the things like energy and manifestation from both a very scientific and a very like, this guy is crazy. And I love pushing people's minds and brains a little bit. So we have a good time over there.
I love that you have gone deep with self-mastery, and it's shown so many wonderful results in your life.
And then when you go deep with that, you come all the way back to just realize like, it's just all about having fun and being happy. Who knew? It's just that simple. It really is, man.
Living life on your surfboard.
Yeah. And now, you know, your desert surfboards. So, but it really is nothing is more important than your well-being. Do what you love what you do, be happy. Just be happy and have fun. Do not take this stuff so seriously. You know, someone doesn't like you. Someone criticizes you. Someone asks for a refund. Just shake your feathers.
Right.
Have fun.
Keep going. Well, when you start doing desert surfing, let me know. Okay.
Oh,
if you get wheels on there, I know you're going to do it. I feel.
Wait, you don't mountain bike or anything? You'd never do that?
No, I've definitely. Yeah, no, we have some bikes in the back, but just like it's harder out here to mount.
Dude, I'm going to bring you guys out and get you set up in one of our places.
I'm totally down.
And then we'll go mountain biking and we'll use the van and it'll be a blast. I love it. We have 4 places. So like, you know,
totally
come on out.
That's so cool. James,
the rest of you listening? No.
Huh? Wait, what?
Everyone else listening, you have to pay. But Casey, no.
But guys, I get to go for free. And I get to go in the Sprinter van. Oh, that's amazing.
It's gonna be great, man.
The camper. Yes.
Like James, no one listening cares about this, but
I know. But this is for us. This is you and me.
He'll probably won't even include this. He's gonna edit it all out anyway.
I don't know. Ladies, I guess we'll see, right? If we don't know. I love this part. This part is like it's like the energy part. It's like feeding my heart. So gives me it's like internal jumping jacks right now. So James, much love to you, dude. It was really great to catch up. And if you need anything, your team needs anything around Easywebinar or anything, just keep us informed.